All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Symphogear, Season 1, Episode 7.
And all the things that have been happening, are great and everything. Lots of action and things of that sort. But most importantly, Miku has seen Hibiki. She doesn't necessarily know everything, right? Because she needs the explanations of all this stuff. Right. But she has
an out-of-context spoiler.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
She has begun to see some of the reasonings why Hibiki has probably been distant. So that way she can maybe take that book of, being honest with yourself back off the library shelf. Yeah.
I mean, if she knows everything, then, does she need the book? Can't she, return it?
Yeah, right. The thing is, I could totally see her having that kind of logic for it. But, hey, yeah, well, it is what it is. We shall see how that goes.
Yeah, and how's Hibiki doing?
Yeah.
So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. Alright everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. That was a lot.
Oh my god.
That was quite a lot.
Oh my god.
And you know what's so funny is that I completely understand the drama of what's going on with Miku and stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's a really rough natural progression of things. But holy shit, the weird gobbledygook exposition that just is right, okay. The Kadingir or Kadingir.
Yeah, that was the thing that made probably the most sense.
The most sense. It's all right, so there's another relic out there. Okay.
But then there's this idea of the custodians, the
curse on humanity,
the Lulu Amel,
stopping the flames of war. Yeah, the Lulu Amel.
I get the feeling the Lulu Amel is just an alternate word for humans. It's the humans, but it's the alien term the way that they refer to them or something like that.
Or whatever. Just the idea that yes, when we could be the masters of our own fate and transcend the past.
Yep.
What are you talking about?
Uh-huh.
We're taking notes and paying attention, but what the fuck? What is happening?
There were so many things that I loved from this episode. It had action and stuff. It was a ton of fun, right? We got into the trippy big concept stuff that's hell yeah, let's do it, And we got progression on the whole Miku angle with Hibiki, which now granted. There is one thing that I do have to say about that, Miku. That's I get where you're coming from. At the same time, you did put away that book of being honest with yourself, and one of the things that you are keeping from Hibiki as a secret is the fact that there's additional reasons why this is bothering you.
Hey, you cannot hold that against her. You cannot hold that against her.
Totally, but I would say it in a similar way that I wouldn't hold that against her. Her holding this against Hibiki is
absolutely makes sense. Oh. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. This is the kind of thing where, based on the stuff that the show is trying to make us understand, they have been childhood friends for a long time. This is not something of where it's in the beginning of the show they started not sharing all their secrets and stuff. It's more of a thing of that's for us, the audience. But she thought they were like this. But it turns out that when government, super conspiracy, deep state, defense force comes and abducts your friend, that becomes more important because, there's weird shit going on.
Right.
No way do I fault her at all for being I don't want to deal with that. That sounds like a nightmare.
Yep.
And then trying to be your friend through all of that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Doubly too much.
And so her acknowledging that it's I don't think I can do this.
I don't think I can handle this. That's incredibly mature. That's actually incredibly mature.
Yep.
Because Hibiki can't handle it either, but she's just not acknowledging that to herself.
Right. Yeah. If anything, that was that I think was mature. The whole thing of her giving the passive aggressive cold shoulder stuff at the beginning, it's it's understandable, right?
Yeah, exactly. Freaking Miku is just trying to make sense of this. This got dumped on her today, a few hours ago.
Yep.
No, she's not in a state of mind to where she can even probably think straight. Hell, like the fact that this is something that Hibiki can do means that there's going to be consistently moments in the future where Hibiki will be throwing her life in jeopardy.
Oh, yeah.
And she doesn't seem to care about that.
Nope. And that is... Yeah,
that is a problem.
That's a problem for the people that, when it comes right down to it, don't really care about Hibiki that much, you know?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, you're a person, cool, and all that stuff, and we don't want something bad to happen to you, but we haven't known you our entire lives or anything.
No,
right? You're still just another person, right?
Yeah, and the web gets even more tangled with Ryoko because holy shit, like this is now getting really crazy. Ryoko is studying... It seems she's studying everything from within the Symphogear group here to get as much info that she can to leak out to her allies.
Sure.
And their goal, it seems, is humanity's transcendence or some kind of return to the ways before things went wrong in the past.
Well, it's something where I'm starting to wonder if Ryoko's motivations are necessarily the same as Finae's, because Ryoko, I feel like is very much doing this from the she's the science.
Well, they're allied.
Right, they're allied.
So
right.
it doesn't really matter how they're slightly different. I think the point is that they're faction-wise working together.
Right, they're more similar than
they are different.
Well, or at the very least, they're more similar than Ryoko is similar to the organization that she gains to work for.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
But also the whole thing of like her going like full like stalker mode with the pictures of Hibiki everywhere and like all of that stuff, it's like, okay, well, I'm glad it's at least being portrayed, you know, in that
very
way,
creepy.
like very, very creepily, right?
Yeah.
And even Hibiki's whole thing, like she randomly pokes her boob and then she's like,
like my favorite thing about that is that we're reminded that the reason why Hibiki is doing this is because it's supposed to help humanity. She's being the hero that she can only be. But she still doesn't feel safe around these people. So when older lady comes around and starts poking her boob, she's just like, what the fuck is that? Right. That is probably one of my favorite like anime girl gets like touched inappropriately kind of responses, because it's like, yeah, what the hell? This is not necessary for me, you know, doing my part as a soldier or whatever to help you all. Is it? Well, no. Ryoko's not a good person.
But then there's the whole thing of like, hey, you are developing different abilities than we've necessarily seen before because you are actually fusing with your relic.
Yeah.
And that's something that is
unheard of.
Unheard of, right?
Yeah.
Cool, right?
Very
cool. And using you know, ominous and lines like, oh, a paradigm shift and things like that.
Well, no, I think that one makes sense from the scientist perspective, because in context she was talking about it from like these are the scientific findings I've had, and it's almost like she's singing to like a recording for the purpose of her own, you know, study and what have you.
Right. This is what we know. This is how it works, and then suddenly it doesn't work that way.
It's not going to apply in the future as much because we'll have something new that we can study that will cause a paradigm shift in the way we look at relics.
Right.
Now, we also got an X-ray that showed what the relic is doing to her.
Right, the projected, like, this is what it would look like in the future.
Why do you think it's in the future? What made you think that was not literally what we were seeing right there? What?
I suppose that's a good point. I thought
what makes you think that?
I thought we had seen an X-ray before, and it was like just like the little shards and stuff.
Yeah. Why do you think that that's necessarily the truth, though?
I mean,
if that was actually happening to her, they would never show like the actual results of what was going on inside her.
That's a good point.
They would never tell her the truth. Like,
well, okay, I think it's because they talked about it being in a present state of fusing, right? Like Hibiki is in the process of fusing with her relic. Like, it's going to get crazier. It's going to get,
which has never happened before. So there's nothing to say really that. Like,
what do you mean?
Like, that could literally be her X-rays right there. Like, if she's fusing with her relic, that doesn't mean necessarily that, fusing means that it's only just at the infancy stage. It could be literally that she's going to turn into something not human, and...
Yes. If that's her current X-rays and that's the current state of things, then that makes it even more terrifying for what it would be like once the fusing is like 100% complete. Whatever that would look like.
Yeah, I feel like that's what we're insinuating here, because there was a very clear through line of the episode in the idea of, well, what even is human? Because she was getting mocked by
Chris?
Yukine.
Oh.
Yeah, Chris. But Yukine. I'm going to start calling her Yukine now, because that's just... I don't know, that rolls off the tongue better for me. In that she's like, oh, you're laughing at me? Like, the idea of that's what you think this is? I really think that they're heading towards something where relics and, like, what they are way more of an entity than we've been led to believe, that they're any kind of, like, inanimate object or something like that.
Sure, yeah. There's all kinds of wonky, mystical, supernatural stuff going on there. I guess if that is the current X-ray of what Hibiki, like from Hibiki, right? It's already progressed to that stage, and she is still fusing with the relic. Then that almost, that feels like to me it would end up being something that is like a complete hostile takeover, rather than like, when I think of fusion, I think of something where significant portions from both things are kept in the final product, right?
Well, that doesn't mean that's what this has to be. A hostile takeover could just be the fact that it's so invasive that it's literally 50% of her when all this is done. Right now, it just looks like a bone structure. That's not a lot. Like, in terms of the percentage of what makes up, her.
Okay.
It's incredibly more than fragments sitting there, but it makes sense then why she poked her, because she's like, can I feel it? Can I physically feel it if I push her? And be like, oh, there's like a little bit more of tensile strength to her skin or something.
Yep.
There's a little bit more of like a physical pressure based on the X-rays that showed that maybe some of it is literally coming up into her boob, and she's like, poke? Is that something?
Right.
No. Oh, okay. Because I could totally see them having a moment where, well, because Miku's no longer going to be in the bath with her for this kind of a thing, where she's just like sitting in the bath and she like feels something.
It's that whole thing of like,
ow,
when you feel for like where you can like feel a tumor, or something like that, Yeah.
I literally think we're at that point, and the poking thing is another example of like that being a potential like state for it.
But yeah, so we got all kinds of craziness going on, and then the stuff with Finae of being like, I am immortal, my armor eternal, I will not
live
die
until the stars die.
Yeah, I will live until the stars die. Yeah. That is something that
it wasn't a song either.
No.
Like, she wasn't singing, and this,
like, it wasn't part of the poetry or anything. Like,
I mean, well,
she was definitely being poetic about it.
But I mean, she wasn't literally singing it.
Right. So it was, she was meaning to communicate the information of those words, right? Like,
okay. Sorry. Keep going.
Okay. That's not something that you say if you just have like a special piece of gear or something like that. Like that's.
I think this is her activating words for the relic. It's just weird that she didn't sing it.
Gotcha. My vibe from it is that was her basically saying, I am not human.
Sure.
Right. And whether that's
with you.
And whether that could totally be something where it's as a result of of stuff, environmental things that happened, like say with the relics or whatever, I am now no longer human. Or it almost sounds like she's saying, I have never been human. My nature is something that is inhuman. Like,
yeah,
like
maybe,
because there was the whole idea of the custodians brought up that the curse that they have put on humanity since time, untold, right?
Well, like, there was a I think you're conflating a bit of a thing that I put in the notes, and then I edited it because I realized that I was reading a bit too much into something.
Okay.
It was the idea that it's the custodian's curse indicating a possessiveness, that the custodians are the ones that owned the curse, probably had power over it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the custodians are not humanity, because if humanity has an inborn curse that it's there since time untold, we didn't necessarily have it put on us from another entity.
Right. Let's talk about what the show probably means then by custodian, because custodian I think of as being something separate. If you're going to use a word like custodian, then it's different than the thing that it is custodian.
I'm with you.
Over.
I'm just saying it's not definite. I'm with you.
Okay.
I believe that it is that way.
Yeah. Well, there is the possibility that it's just humans, but until we get something that that seems to point in that direction, you're in agreement that seems like it's talking about some kind of alien, extraterrestrial, anti-spiral, life fiber, something trippy and other, right? That is kind of seems like it's the buildup of the sort of true enemy here, right? We have humans that fight humans with Symphogear and things like that, and there's the noise, but the noise might just be more of like the side effect, right? The symptom of the issue, right? And then eventually they'll get to the point where they're not fighting humans with Symphogear anymore. They're fighting these custodians or in conflict with these custodians in some way.
Yeah. The reason why I wanted to put out the idea that it's not definite is because she makes the point of saying we would have proof of our, I have to find this part here, of our release from the custodian's curse.
Yeah.
So direct, kind of applying to something other than us. But the idea that I was maybe thinking of was that if we are custodians of the Symphogear, of the relics, maybe it's a thing of where it's those that are like attuned, that are like basically those that have the connection to the relics.
Sure.
Because they did bring up a very important world building thing throughout the beginning of the show, that humans used relics throughout history to accomplish great things. So that's nothing new, but that might also be the custodian's curse, in that it's that there are people that maybe they didn't will to do those things. The relics did, and it's that because they were a custodian of a relic, which custodian does work in that kind of artifact kind of terminology, in that they're like, I'm a keeper of an old thing. I'm a custodian. So therefore, it could apply to specific subset of humans, not just another entity that's not human. That's my other theory.
All right.
That's like I'm about 30% on, according instead of it's aliens.
Right.
Because I think the relics are the aliens.
I think that's a definite possibility.
That's my thing.
Yeah. When she talks about the release from the custodian's curse, what that makes me think of is it's the since she's talking about how Hibiki basically is going to change everything, then it makes me think that she's talking about the limitations that they have when using the relics, right? The energy draw that it puts on the person, like the fact that if you use the great song, the final song, right, then your body disintegrates and burns away, right? Yeah. Because of that dissonance and all of that stuff. Like it very much gives me the vibe of, humanity would be too powerful with these relics or whatever, so here's this curse that basically is a limiter, right? The two will be separate. You will never be able to use them in their entirety, and
it creates a nice progression for the story on a meta level, because then over the course of the story,
it's why Hibiki's the main character, and
humans will eventually utilize the full powers of the relics.
Exactly.
In varying different ways. And I totally get the meta story that's being set up here, because it was very heavy-handed in the exposition side of things, because it fits in that she's giving scientific, I'm doing this for me, yes. Yeah. But also it doesn't make sense at all in the, this is the super secret facility that I'm also a double agent in, and I'm keeping my findings in some kind of thing that I
maybe it's
probably
her own
have
thoughts,
to turn in.
Like she's just doing this as a way to organize her process.
But then it's the heavy-handed exposition.
Then it's heavy-handed exposition.
Yeah. So I give it basically the middle ground of it's heavy-handed exposition, but it also could be scientist stuff. But also she's probably found a way of hiding her important findings.
Right.
So she's actually not giving them everything that she's interpreting. But
with exposition material that you're trying to convey, as trippy and out there as this seems to be, I don't know how you do this without getting kind of heavy-handed, right?
Well, you just do it slower. You don't do it all at once.
Yes, and the fact that this is happening this early in the series, right?
Because they need to move things along.
They need to move things quickly.
We got to move quickly.
And there's something that I've been wondering since pretty much the beginning of this show is the first season. Is that a thing where it's going to be like, oh, it's more or less wrapped up, here you go, and then we get the extra sprinkles of it continuing on for 4 more seasons?
Possibly.
Or is it something where the first season is very much just like incomplete, this is just the first part in a bigger picture, right?
Because I think that's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, that's the vibe I'm getting too.
Yeah.
But if it were the first one, right, where it's like we want to do it all in the one season, then that would especially explain why it's like, no, we're actually pretty late in this. We're already in the second half of the season. Let's
still
move
need
things
to tell
along.
a complete story.
Yeah,
because there's a possibility that the way this first season was even set up, that they're just gonna come to that moment with the grave.
Sure.
And that'll be the end of the season.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
I'm definitely loving in some ways the fact that I have experience with, almost in a weird way, this exact type of story through mobile games.
Oh.
And that this kind of what I would call verbal gobbledygook nonsense mystery storytelling.
Right, the phase, shifting and all that.
Yeah. I love that shit because it's so ridiculous that if you just suspend your disbelief from the, okay, do I need to understand any of it right now? No, but we're going to give you enough weird data in the middle of it that's actually simple enough that you can predict and follow with the train of madness that this story is going to be. I like that part.
Yeah. Like the whole bit of when she was talking about the abilities and the drawbacks and stuff of the Symphogear, it's basically it makes you stronger and then makes you able to fight the noise normally.
Yes.
Right?
Just like regular punching and getting hit by the noise doesn't
auto disintegrate you, and you can actually make them obey the laws of physics. Cool, right? You can punch ghosts, right?
It's like sorry to say this, Ryoko, but we already knew that. Like, we literally got visual storytelling that that's what was going on.
Yeah, it's like, even though it was done up in a lot of like needlessly like flowery language. Flowery is a generous term.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But it's it's very straightforward, right?
But then she went full like,
what in the hell?
What is a Lulu-ML? What would a word of truth be? Is that what songs are?
Right,
or songs words of truth? I thought she's more talking about like frequencies and shit. And I'm like, okay, so maybe humming is actually just fine, then, because you still get the same frequency at times.
I feel like this is going into all the kind of trippy shit that would be like very cliche if it was just one of these things being done, but because they're all thrown together in this mishmash chaos of a bundle,
and we know there's 5 seasons of this.
There's 5 seasons.
I'm willing to give it a lot.
Right.
Lot of leeway.
Because like the words of truth thing, that makes me think of like naming in like fantasy stories,
in magic,
know the name of all things, or the true name of something, and then you get control over it, right?
Yeah.
Or the importance of language having magic and stuff, and that's why people chant or whatever. But in this case, it's why they sing. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So words of truth. It's a way of trying to
just say music.
To basically just say music.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool, but it's got that esoteric tint to it that makes it more interesting than just singing's cool, right? Like
I love these kinds of stories because you can get way more out of it than the creators ever intended to put into it.
Yeah.
And yet, because the creator ends up, in this one specifically, getting 5 seasons to go all the way with it, I could see every single little detail of stuff that's being used and things like this having full, well thought out explanations that come, 2 seasons, 3 seasons later.
Yep. Like,
yeah. I just, man, this was so fun. It was so ridiculous.
Also, something that I just have to mention, because I really felt bad about this. We spent a lot of time going back through this episode to be like, all right, what exactly did they say? But the part when Chris goes to confront Finae, my God, that was one of the funniest scenes in the episode, right up there with Hibiki's squawking, what the hell are you doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, because she's having this this
existential crisis.
This existential crisis that is happening relatively soon to her introduction into the show, but could just as easily happen after like 2 seasons of her being in the show, and like, you know, the plight of her life, you know, and just everything is collapsing all around her. She doesn't know what to believe.
In the background.
And we got English in the background, almost too quiet to hear.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me? Are you listening? You know,
are you listening to me?
Like, you're not ignoring me. Like it's very much like are you really just not, like, do you think so little of me?
Yeah.
Right.
God, that was so funny.
Oh man, it was great. And then I don't know why I didn't realize that, like, I should just assume that if Finae isn't wearing a hat that she's naked. But
well, didn't you see the way she was sitting here in the very beginning when the ED ends? It's literally like,
oh yeah,
she's literally naked.
Yeah, I guess I was just laughing too hard at the English, and also trying to like pay attention to the subtitles while not getting confused by the English, because, you know.
Oh, right,
a lot of the things that they're actually saying don't really make much sense. But, oh,
hey,
man.
Finae, you're a mood, I'll just say. Because hanging out at your place, just be naked. It's that's literally the reason why people made, you know, walls, roofs, and all that. It's just so that you could be in a place where the elements are not dealing. You don't have to deal with them, so you can be naked just fine.
But might as well still wear the thigh highs.
I mean, they're comfortable. I don't know anything about that, but I'm assuming they are, at least, you know, right?
Oh,
like that
man.
that just makes sense, right?
But like, also Chris's second, like, Symphogear, the what was it called?
No. See, that's the thing. That's her actual thing.
Wait.
Like, that's the actual, like, full thing. That's her actually singing. Because you don't activate relics unless you sing. That's what the reveal was that...
Oh, she wasn't actually singing all these other times she fought.
No.
Gotcha.
That was just some regular-ass shit that she had on that gave her some tech abilities. But then, no, once she sings, basically, that's when it's like, well, shit, now it's time for me to blow shit up, which was amazing. Full-on missiles and Gatling guns.
Yeah,
and
like, and the speed at which it went from, like, different, like, form to different form of, like, the different techniques. But then, like, the awesome text on the screen, and it's just like, yes, I go from crossbow with, like, shooting a bunch of shots and, like,
ooh, is this, like, sci-fi Hades, you know?
Yeah, I like it, right? This is cool. And then just quadruple Gatling guns.
See, this is mobile game shit right here.
Yeah.
Like, this is literally meant to sell waifus for a gacha game.
Oh,
like,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, I cannot tell you the types of games I've played where literally this character archetype, I'm talking about, Yukine, Chris, she's literally in every single one of these mobile games. She's the character that comes in, it's like, you don't know anything, protagonist.
Right.
How could you spout off like that? You don't know me. I'm actually the most complex OC character that the author really actually is their favorite character.
Or another way to say it, Hibiki and Tsubasa have very much like, yes, right, we spent a lot of time with these characters, we know a lot about them and their struggles and their plights and things like that and whatnot. Whereas this is the character where it's like, let's just see how much we can cram into her and her clothes. Like the most extreme, like, character backstory, the most extreme, like, abilities, the most extreme boobs, you know, like...
Yeah. Because she has to shake the world of the protagonist up with the story arc that she's going to go on, unless Finae fucking kills her right in the next episode, which could be hilarious. And it's like, oh, you thought you were supposed to... No, she's dead. God, she's just dead. And that would be amazing. I would be so blown away if they did that.
Like, there was even the point of, like, her ideology being super extreme of, like, I'm going to, like, we're going to have peace because I'm going to be violent and all that stuff, to the point where it's like...
Well, no, she was saying I was going to extinguish the flames of war.
Sure, I'm going to kill all the people that would, do the war.
Oh, right.
Like,
Yes.
to the point where she runs into a brother and his little sister, and the sister's crying. Now, granted, she doesn't know their siblings at the beginning and all that stuff, right? But assumes that he is bullying her in some way. They specifically say, no, that's not it. And it's like, wait, is she going to kill this kid? Like, the crying one has to actually stand in the way and be like, no, stop. Like, it's fine.
I loved that constant switch.
Them switching and standing in front of, like, in between for the other person.
It was
like,
so heavy-handed, again, what was going on. That's why we didn't mention in the discussion. We're like, wow, yeah, I wonder what kind of symbolism this has to do with.
Yep.
It was wonderful. But I love that we're getting more of her character, and given that she's about to be on the outs with Finae, whether that lasts more than 20 seconds, we'll see, because Finae might kill her.
Yeah.
But I am excited, because this is another thing that always happens in these mobile games. I'll just say this. She's joining the good guys' side, and it's happening really quickly.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
That's why I think it would be a freaking amazing
Azula's
twist.
already come and said, come home, brother, and then, we're taking the prisoners home. Like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't even consider Finae remotely close to Azula.
No, not close to Azula, but just the point where Zuko's now on the outs from the Fire Nation, right? So, Oh,
I see what you're saying. Gotcha. Sure.
But there's only so many places she can go.
No, I would say that's not really the case. In this case, actually, she could be off on her own, going rogue, and be like just by herself for a majority of the story moving forward.
Definitely. And I mean, season 2 Zuko was favorite Zuko, so
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So however they decide to have it go.
But I'm saying in mobile games, this character joins up with them really quickly.
Yeah, it's
because they have to give a lot of the insight to why this weird stuff is happening in the world as well.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yep.
But I feel like this could be more of the season 2 Zuko kind of thing, where it's the
like she spent the time on her own with the kids.
Yeah, to hide out and stuff in cities and things.
Do some soul searching and all that. Yeah.
But y'all, this was crazy fun. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.